Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. This is your quiet time, your space to unwind, and as you rest in bed, let tonight's story soothe you all the way to sleep. In the quiet hush of twilight, where shadows dance like forgotten memories across ancient stone walls, let us embark on a gentle voyage through the mists of time. Close your eyes, dear listener, and allow the soft whispers of history to cradle you into a world of kings and queens, of forged steel and fragile dreams. This is the tale of the Iron Throne, a symbol etched in the annals of a medieval realm, where power was as sharp as a blade and as unforgiving as the winter winds. Settle in, let your breath slow, and drift with me into this sleepy saga of ambition, betrayal, and the unyielding seat that bound them all. Long ago, in the shadowed valleys of a land called Westeros, where seven kingdoms stretched like weary fingers across vast plains and rugged mountains, there arose a conqueror whose fire would reshape the world. Aegon Targaryen, with his sisters Visenya and Rhaenys at his side, descended upon the divided realms, astride dragons that breathed flames hotter than the sun's fury. Their scales gleamed like polished obsidian under stormy skies, and their roars echoed through the hills, sending shivers through the hearts of lords and peasants alike. Aegon dreamed not of mere victory, but of unity, a single throne to rule them all, forged from the swords of his vanquished foes. As the dragons soared, battles raged below. The fields of fire consumed armies whole, leaving behind scorched earth and broken banners fluttering in the ash-laden breeze. Kings bent the knee or perished in the blaze, their crowns melting into rivers of molten gold. From the stormy shores of the Iron Islands to the sun-kissed dunes of Dawn, Aegon's conquest swept like a relentless tide. And when the dust settled, he commanded his smiths to gather the blades of 1,000 enemies, swords twisted in defeat, daggers stained with the blood of the fallen, and hammer them into a colossal seat. The Iron Throne was born, not in beauty, but in brutality, its jagged edges a reminder that no ruler could sit comfortably upon it. It stood in the heart of King's Landing, a city risen from the ashes of conquest, its spikes reaching out like the claws of a slumbering beast. Aegon ascended those treacherous steps, his violet eyes reflecting the flickering torchlight, and claimed his place. But even in triumph, the throne whispered warnings. It cut into his flesh on that first day, drawing blood as if to say, "Power demands sacrifice." Yet Aegon ruled wisely. His dragon, Balerion the Black Dread, perched atop the hills like a guardian of old. Laws were etched into parchment, alliances forged in the glow of hearths, and for a time, peace blanketed the land like a soft snowfall. The people whispered of the Dragon King, their voices carrying on the wind through villages where children played with wooden swords, dreaming of glory. As years drifted by like leaves on a lazy river, Aegon's heirs took their turn upon the throne. His son Aenys, gentle and scholarly, inherited a realm still raw from conquest. Aenys preferred books to battles, his court filled with poets and maesters whose quills scratched endless tomes of knowledge. But the throne's iron bit deeper into those who lacked resolve. Rebellions stirred in the shadows, faith militant uprising from the septs, where starry-eyed priests decried the Targaryen incestuous ways as sins against the gods. Aenys faltered, his decisions wavering like candle flames in a draught, and the kingdom teetered on the edge of chaos. Then came Maegor the Cruel, Aenys's half-brother, whose grip on the throne was as ironclad as the seat itself. Maegor rode forth on Balerion, his sword Blackfire singing through the air as he crushed the faithful underfoot. Towers burned, and rivers ran red with the blood of those who dared oppose him. He built the Red Keep around the throne, its walls rising high and foreboding, riddled with secret passages where whispers of plots could hide. Maegor's wives numbered many, each chosen for their beauty or bloodline, but his reign was barren of joy, marked by trials of 7, where champions clashed in arenas of sand and steel. The throne seemed to feed on his fury, its edges sharpening with every execution, every pyre lit in the name of order. Yet even tyrants fade. Maegor met his end mysteriously, found slumped on the throne, with wrists slashed by its own blades, as if the iron had turned against him. Whispers spoke of suicide or sorcery, but the truth slipped away into the night like a thief. His nephew Jaehaerys ascended next, the old king, whose long rule brought a golden age. With his queen Alysanne, the good queen, at his side, they traveled the realm on dragonback, listening to the woes of small folk in humble halls and granting mercies that healed old wounds. Roads were paved, connecting distant holds, laws reformed to protect the weak, and the Night's Watch strengthened against the wildlings beyond the wall. The throne, under Jaehaerys, seemed almost tame, its spikes dulled by wisdom and love. Tournaments flourished, knights in shining armor jousting under banners of silk, while bards sang ballads of chivalry that lulled audiences into peaceful reverie. But peace is fleeting, like a dream upon waking. Jaehaerys' death left a succession tangled in webs of claims. His grandson Viserys took the throne, a man of mirth and feasts, whose court brimmed with laughter and lavish displays. Dragons danced in the skies above Dragonstone, their riders reveling in the ancient blood that bound them to the beasts. Viserys named his daughter Rhaenyra heir, defying traditions that favored sons, and the realm murmured in unease. When his son Aegon was born later, the seeds of discord were sown, sprouting into the dance of the dragons, a civil war that would scar the land forever. The war erupted like a storm long brewing. Rhaenyra, the realm's delight, claimed the throne from her island stronghold, her black banners unfurling against the horizon. Aegon II, backed by the greens of his mother's Hightower kin, sat upon the Iron Throne in King's Landing, his crown heavy with the weight of betrayal. Dragons clashed in aerial fury, their flames illuminating the night as brother fought brother, sister against sibling. The battle above the God's Eye saw Prince Daemon, Rhaenyra's consort, leap from his dragon Caraxes onto Aemon's Varga, plunging Dark Sister through his nephew's eye in a plummet to the lake below. Rivers turned to steam, forests to ash, and the throne's iron drank deeply of Targaryen blood. Rhaenyra briefly claimed her seat, but the throne rejected her, slicing her palms as mobs rioted in the streets below. She fled, only to meet a gruesome end, fed to Aegon's dragon Sunfire in a spectacle of fire and screams. Aegon II lingered, poisoned and broken, until his own end came quietly. The war's toll was immense. Dragons dwindled, their roars fading into legend, and the throne stood emptier, its aura darkened by the ghosts of the fallen. In the aftermath, young Aegon III, the Dragonbane, ascended, his eyes haunted by the horrors he'd witnessed. He shunned the beasts that had torn his family apart, ordering the last dragons confined until they withered into fragile eggs. His reign was somber, marked by regents who schemed in the shadows of the Red Keep. The small council whispered plots, hands reaching for power like vines creeping over ancient ruins. Yet Aegon found solace in his brother Viserys, returned from captivity, and together they navigated the fragile peace. Generations passed, each king leaving their mark on the throne's storied blades. Daeron, the young dragon, conquered Dawn with youthful zeal, only to lose it in rebellion. His body returned riddled with arrows. Baelor the Blessed, pious and frail, built the great sept, fasting until his visions blurred the line between divinity and madness. He walked barefoot through snake pits, emerging unscathed, but his mercy extended to locking away his sisters in the Maiden Vault, fearing their beauty would tempt sin. Then came Aegon the Unworthy, whose appetites knew no bounds. His court was a den of excess, mistresses parading through halls lined with tapestries of conquest. He legitimized his bastards on his deathbed, igniting the Blackfire rebellions that would plague the realm for decades. Daemon Blackfire, handsome and martial, wielded the sword, Blackfire as if born to it, rallying half the kingdom against his half-brother, Daron II. Battles raged at Redgrass Field, where arrows fell like rain and blood ravens darkened the sky. The throne trembled under the strain, its iron groaning as loyalties fractured like brittle steel. Daron II, the Good, held firm, his Dornish queen bringing southern alliances that mended old rifts. His sons carried the legacy: Baelor Breakspear, valiant in tourneys; Aerys, scholarly and distant; Rhaegal, mad with dances in empty halls; and Maekar, stern and unyielding. Tragedy struck at the tourney of Ashford Meadow, where Baelor perished from a blow in a trial of 7, his golden helm crushed. Maekar ascended after Aerys's brief, bookish reign, but guilt shadowed him like a perpetual cloud. Maekar's son, Aegon V, the Unlikely, rose from humble beginnings, having wandered the realm as Egg, squire to the Hedge Knight Dunk. He sought reforms for the small folk, banning cruel customs and granting rights that irked the lords. But his dreams of hatching dragons led to the tragedy at Summerhall, where fire consumed kin and keep alike, leaving the throne to his grandson, Aerys II, the Mad King. Aerys's rule began with promise. His hand, Tywin Lannister, bringing prosperity. Gold flowed, tourneys dazzled, and the realm flourished. But madness crept in, whispers of wildfire and paranoia poisoning his mind. He burned dissenters alive, their screams echoing through the throne room as the Iron Throne watched impassively. Robert Baratheon's rebellion ignited when Aerys demanded the heads of his wards, and the realm fractured once more. Battles at the Trident saw Rhaegar Targaryen fall, his rubies scattering into the river like drops of blood. King's Landing sacked, the Mad King slain by his own Kingsguard, Jaime Lannister, who twisted the blade in betrayal. Robert claimed the throne, his warhammer still stained, but the iron cut him too. His reign marred by debts, debauchery, and distant threats. His heirs, Joffrey, Tommen, struggled in the Game of Thrones, where houses Stark, Lannister, Baratheon, and others vied for power. Wolves howled in the north, lions roared in the west, and dragons stirred anew across the narrow sea. Daenerys Targaryen, the mother of dragons, hatched her eggs in pyres of loss, her beasts growing fierce as she conquered cities of slaves. The throne's history wound through winters harsh and summers sweet, with the long night looming where white walkers marched from the frozen beyond. Ancient prophecies spoke of Azor Ahai reborn, a prince promised to wield Lightbringer against the darkness. Battles at the Wall, where black brothers stood vigilant, arrows whistling through icy gales. Alliances shifted like sands, Tyrell roses blooming in courts, Greyjoy krakens raiding coasts, Martell's sons burning with vengeance. The Iron Throne, forged in fire, endured sieges, sackings, and the weight of countless rulers. Its blades, once sharp, now dulled by time, yet still it demanded blood. In the end, as stars wheel overhead and the world turns slowly, the throne remains, a relic of medieval might, whispering to those who listen of glory and ruin intertwined. Drift now into dreams where dragons soar and kings rest eternal. The Iron Throne's tale fading into the soft embrace of night. But wait, the story lingers, for history is a river that never truly ends. Let us wander deeper into the forgotten corners, where lesser-known lords and ladies played their parts in the grand tapestry. Consider the era of the conciliator, Jaehaerys, whose 55 years brought innovations like the King's Road, stretching from the Wall to Storm's End, allowing merchants to travel safely, their wagons laden with spices and silks. Queen Alizan's influence softened the harsh north, abolishing the lord's right to the first night, a custom as old as the hills, ensuring maidens wed without fear. Tournaments under their rule were spectacles of color, lances splintering, crowds cheering, as knights like Sir Ryam Redwyn, charged with shields emblazoned in gold. The throne room hosted grand councils where maesters debated the stars and septons preached unity. Yet even in this golden time, sorrows crept in, children lost to plagues, dragons refusing to hatch, omens in the skies like comets trailing fire. Fast forward to the dance's aftermath, where the hour of the wolf saw Lord Cregan Stark march south, his Northmen cloaked in furs, dispensing justice with an axe. The young king Aegon III stared blankly at the throne, his mother devoured before his eyes, instilling a hatred for the color green. Regents like Unwind Peak schemed, poisoning rivals in the shadows, while the rogue prince's bastard daughters claimed dragons in the sowing of seeds, only to perish in flames. The Blackfire saga unfolded with betrayals deep, Demon's rebellion backed by bitter steel, whose golden skull would later adorn a company's banner across the sea. At Redgrass, Fireball fell, his faith unyielding, and Bloodraven's arrows decided the day. Exiles fled to Essos, plotting returns that echoed through generations, like the War of the Ninepenny Kings, where Barristan Selmy slew Malus the Monstrous in single combat. Aegon V's reforms stirred unrest. Lords rebelled against taxes meant for the poor, leading to uprisings quelled by force. His children defied betrothals for love, Duncan abdicating for Jenny of Old Stones, whose songs haunted ruins. Jaehaerys wedding his sister Shera in secret, Daeron dying unwed. Summerhall's fire claimed many, birthing Rhaegar amid smoke and grief. Aerys's descent was gradual, insulting Tywin by rejecting Cersei for his son, appointing wildfire-loving pyromancers. The defiance of Duskendale imprisoned him, breaking his spirit, emerging with long nails and wild eyes. Tourneys at Harrenhal whispered of knights of the laughing tree, mysteries that sparked the rebellion. Robert's rule saw the Greyjoy uprising, Balon bending the knee after Pike's fall, his court filled with sycophants, while Ned Stark returned north, harboring secrets. The throne's influence spread to the free cities, where Illyrio schemed with Varys, spiders weaving webs across oceans. Generous journey wove through deserts and seas, sold to Khal Drogo, her silver hair gleaming under Dothraki stars. Pyres birthed dragons. Cities fell to her unsullied, and Meereen's pits roared with combat. Back in Westeros, the War of the Five Kings ravaged lands. Robb Stark's wolves victorious at Whispering Wood, but betrayed at the Red Wedding. Frey's slaughtering under guest right. Stannis Baratheon sailed with Melisandre's shadows, burning weirwoods for the Lord of Light. Renly's peach forgotten in assassination's grasp. The Iron Throne claimed Joffrey with poison. Tommen, with innocence, lost. Cersei's walk of shame through streets lined with jeers, her golden hair shorn. The North remembered Bolton's flaying skins, Ramsay's hounds hunting. Jon Snow rose at the wall, facing wildlings and wights, his direwolf ghost silent as snow. Beyond, Bran journeyed to the three-eyed raven, visions of past thrones flashing, Aerys commanding, burn them all, Bran the builder, raising the wall. Essos' tales intertwined, Braavos' faceless men, Volantis' slaves rising, Pentos' cheeses and wines traded for secrets. The throne's shadow reached Slaver's Bay, where Daenerys broke chains, her dragons chaining her to duty. As winters deepened, the others advanced, their ice swords cracking against Valyrian steel. Battles at Winterfell saw the dead rise, Arya striking the Night King in darkness. The throne melted in dragon fire, Drogon's breath ending its reign, Bran ascending as king, his wheelchair a new symbol. Yet history cycles, whispers of new thrones in far lands where iron bends to will. Sleep now, as the tale dissolves into ether, the Iron Throne, a dream in the medieval night. Now, let's dive into a soothing journey through the timeless tale of the Far Pavilions. We'll drift into a world of adventure, love, and destiny, where the sands of time shift softly beneath our feet. Close your eyes if you wish, and imagine the vast landscapes unfolding before you. The snow-capped peaks of the Himalayas, the dusty plains of the Punjab, and the shadowed palaces of forgotten kingdoms. This is the story of a man caught between two worlds, a love that defies empires, and the quiet whispers of fate that guide us all. Let us begin, slowly and serenely, with the birth of a boy who would become a bridge between cultures. In the year of our tale's beginning, under the vast, starlit skies of India during the British Raj, a child was born to a British botanist and his wife as they traveled through the rugged terrains of the subcontinent. The mother, frail and weary from the journey, succumbed to childbed fever soon after, leaving the newborn in the arms of his grieving father. But fate, ever unpredictable like the monsoon rains, claimed the father too a few years later in the grip of a cholera outbreak that swept through the land like a silent shadow. The little boy, named Ashton Pelham Martin, was left orphaned in a world that was both beautiful and brutal. Entrusted to his devoted Hindu ayah, Sita, a kind-hearted woman with eyes as deep as the Ganges, Ashton was to be carried to his English relatives in the distant cantonment of Mardan. Sita, with her sari fluttering in the warm winds, held the child close, whispering lullabies of ancient gods and heroes to soothe his cries. But as they journeyed, the air grew thick with unrest. The year was 1857, and the Sepoy Mutiny erupted like a storm across the plains, turning brother against brother and staining the earth with the blood of the innocent. Whispers of rebellion filled the villages, and Sita learned to her horror that the British Ferenghis, foreigners, had been slaughtered in the places they sought refuge. With no safe haven for an English child, Sita made a fateful decision. She would raise Ashton as her own, dyeing his fair skin with walnut juice to hide his heritage and renaming him Ashok, a name meaning without sorrow in the tongue of the land. Together, they wandered like leaves on the wind, seeking shelter in the remote kingdom of Golconda, nestled in the foothills where the mountains met the sky. There, in the opulent yet treacherous palace, Ashok grew up immersed in the vibrant tapestry of Indian life. He learned the languages of the people, Hindi, Urdu, Pashto, flowing from his lips as naturally as breath. He played in the dusty courtyards, his laughter mingling with the calls of peacocks and the distant roar of tigers in the jungle beyond. As a servant boy, he was assigned to the young Yuvaraj, Prince Lalji, a spoiled but lonely child who ruled the nursery with a petulant hand. But it was in the shadowed corners of the palace that Ashok found his truest companions. There was Kodadad, the wise master of the stables, a man with a beard like silver threads and eyes that held the wisdom of ages. His son, Zaran, became Ashok's steadfast friend, sharing adventures in the riding rings and secret escapades under the moonlit mango trees. And then there was the Princess Anjuli, half-sister to Lalji, born of a different mother, a dancing girl from the hills, and thus neglected, hidden away like a forgotten jewel. Anjuli, with her wide, curious eyes and a spirit as wild as the mountain streams, befriended Ashok in the quiet hours. They shared stories by the flickering light of oil lamps, dreaming of worlds beyond the palace walls. She called him Ashok Bhai, little brother, and in those innocent moments, a bond formed that would endure like the eternal snows. But palaces hold secrets darker than the night, and as Ashok grew to 11 years, he stumbled upon a web of intrigue. Whispers in the corridors spoke of a conspiracy against the young Prince Lalji, orchestrated by ambitious courtiers who sought to seize power. Ashok, loyal and brave, interfered, drawing the venomous gaze of the plotters upon himself. One fateful night, as the palace slept under a blanket of stars, he overheard the final plans for murder. With his heart pounding like a war drum, he fled to warn his friends. But danger closed in like a noose, promising Anjuli, with tears glistening in her eyes, that he would one day return for her. Ashok and Sita escaped through hidden passages, aided by loyal souls within the walls. They slipped into the darkness, the palace fading behind them like a dream. The road ahead was long and weary, through thorny jungles and across swollen rivers that murmured secrets to the moon. Sita, her strength waning like the fading light of dawn, fell ill, her body ravaged by the hardships. In a quiet glade, surrounded by the soft rustle of leaves, she drew her last breath. But before she departed, she revealed the truth to Ashok: the letters from his father, the money hidden away, and the story of his English blood. "You are Ashton," she whispered, her voice as gentle as a sigh. "But in your heart, you will always be my Ashok." With her passing, the boy was alone, the weight of two worlds upon his young shoulders. Guided by Sita's final instructions, Ashton made his way to a British military outpost, his small feet carrying him through villages where the air smelled of spices and smoke. There, he was recognized by kind officers who saw through the walnut stain to the English boy beneath. He was cleaned, clothed in stiff British attire, and sent across the seas to England, a land of grey skies and stone castles, so different from the sun-drenched plains he knew. In the hushed halls of boarding schools and the rigid drills of military academies, Ashton learned the ways of the sahibs, the proper accent, the starched uniforms, the codes of honor that bound the empire. Yet, in the quiet of night, he dreamed of India, of the scent of jasmine and the call of the muezzin, feeling like a stranger in his own skin. At 19, tall and strong with eyes that held the fire of the East, Ashton returned to India as Lieutenant Pelham Martin, assigned to the elite corps of guides on the wild northern frontier. The borderlands were a place of endless skies and rugged hills where Pathan tribes roamed like wolves, and the wind carried tales of ancient battles. There, he reunited with Zaran, now a fellow soldier, and felt the pull of his dual heritage more keenly than ever. By day, he was Ash the Sahib, leading patrols through dusty passes. By night, he slipped into native guise, speaking the tongues of the hills as if born to them. But this divided soul brought conflict. When his men lost weapons to cunning raiders, dishonoring the regiment, Ash vanished into Afghanistan to reclaim them, restoring honor at great personal risk. His absence without leave earned him suspension, a gentle punishment wrapped in bureaucracy, and he was reassigned to a seemingly mundane task, escorting a royal wedding party across the vast expanse of India. The party hailed from what was once Gulkot, now absorbed into the neighboring realm of Karidkote. Among them were the princesses to be wed, Shushila, the beautiful and pampered younger sister, and Anjuli, now a woman of quiet grace, her eyes still holding the spark of their childhood bond. Also in the entourage was young Prince Jyoti, their brother, a spirited boy with a laugh like tinkling bells. As the caravan wound through golden fields and under canopies of banyan trees, Ash revealed himself to Anjuli in a moment, stolen by the riverbank. "It is I, Ashok," he murmured, and her face lit like the dawn. In the soft glow of twilight, old feelings blossomed into a love as deep as the ocean, as enduring as the mountains. Yet, barriers loomed like storm clouds, and Julie was betrothed to the Rana of Bithor, a lecherous old ruler in a distant principality, and as a co-bride with her sister, her duty was sealed by tradition. Ash, torn between his heart and his honor, could not bridge the chasm of culture and class. The journey stretched on, through sun-baked deserts, where mirages danced like ghosts, and lush valleys where rivers sang lullabies to the stones. Ash uncovered a sinister plot to assassinate young Jyoti, orchestrated by those who sought to control the throne. With cunning and courage, he thwarted the assassins, his sword flashing in the moonlight as he protected the innocent. But his love for Anjali grew heavier with each passing day, a sweet ache that filled his dreams. One night, amid a raging dust storm that howled like lost souls, Anjali confessed her own love, her voice trembling like leaves in the wind. "I have waited for you always," she whispered. Yet she refused to flee with him, bound by her promise to stand by Shushila, who feared the marriage bed alone. Heartbroken, Ash watched as the wedding procession reached Bithor, a fortress of red stone rising from the arid plains like a mirage of opulence and decay. The Rana, withered and cruel, claimed his brides in a ceremony of incense and chants, the air thick with the scent of marigolds and impending doom. Anjali vanished behind the Zenana walls, and Ash returned to his duties, the world dimmer without her light. 2 years passed like slow rivers, carving canyons, years filled with patrols and skirmishes on the frontier where the air crackled with tension between empires. Then a message arrived like a bolt from the sky. The Rana lay dying, and in accordance with ancient rites, his wives were to join him on the funeral pyre in the ritual of sati, a fiery end, to honor the departed. Horror gripped Ash's soul, and Julie, alive and burning, he raced across the land, gathering old friends, Coda Dad, wise and steadfast, Zarin, loyal as ever, and others who owed him debts of life. Under the cover of night, they infiltrated Bethor, the palace alive with mourning drums and flickering torches. The rescue was a whirlwind of shadows and steel, guards slain in silent struggles, ropes flung over walls, and Anjali pulled from the brink of flames. But victory came at a cost. Ash's beloved horse, Dagobaz, fell to arrows, his noble heart ceasing in the chaos, and many of the rescue party perished in the fray, their blood mingling with the dust. And Julie, dazed and defiant, argued against the escape, believing it defied the gods' will. Yet Ash, with love burning brighter than any pyre, insisted they wed in a simple ceremony under the stars, binding their souls forever. As they fled into the wilderness, the story's tapestry widened to encompass the grand games of empires. The British and Russians played chess with nations, the great game unfolding in the shadowed valleys of Afghanistan. Ash, his skills unmatched, was dispatched as a spy into that turbulent land, disguised as a native trader, his eyes scanning for secrets amid bazaars, fragrant with spices and intrigue. He navigated treacherous alliances, whispers of rebellion echoing in mountain passes where eagles soared on thermal winds. The narrative drifts now to the heart of conflict, seen through the eyes of Ash's dearest friend, Walter Hamilton, Wally, a poet soldier with a laugh like summer rain and a bravery that inspired ballads. As tensions boiled, Britain sought to install a puppet emir in Kabul, leading to the Second Afghan War. In September 1879, the British residency in Kabul became a fortress under siege, surrounded by howling mobs and the crack of rifles. Wally, leading a handful of guides, held the line with unyielding resolve, his voice calm amid the storm, directing fire and tending wounds as bullets whined like angry bees. The siege was a nightmare of smoke and screams, the air thick with gunpowder and despair. Day after day, the defenders repelled waves of attackers, their numbers dwindling like melting snow. Wally fought like a lion, his sword a blur, inspiring his men with tales of glory whispered in lulls between assaults. But fate, cruel as a winter frost, claimed him in the final hours, his body falling amid the rubble, a hero's end in a forgotten corner of empire. Ash, returning from his missions, learned of the tragedy, his heart heavy as lead. With Anjali by his side, they turned their gaze to the north, to the distant Himalayas. the far pavilions, where snow-clad peaks touched the heavens and valleys bloomed in eternal spring. There, away from the prejudices of Sahibs and the rigid castes of India, they sought a haven of peace. The journey was arduous, through blizzards that whispered secrets and paths carved by ancient glaciers, but love lighted their way. In a hidden valley, surrounded by the soft hush of pine forests and the gentle murmur of crystal streams, they built a life. Anjali's laughter echoed like bells, and Ash found solace in the quiet rhythms of days, tending gardens that burst with color, watching sunsets paint the sky in hues of rose and gold. No longer torn between worlds, Ash embraced the wholeness of his soul, and Anjali, free from chains of duty, bloomed like a lotus in the sun. Years flowed like the sacred rivers, bringing children with eyes like their mothers and spirits like their fathers. The world beyond faded, its wars and whispers mere echoes in the wind. In the far pavilions, love endured, a beacon against the darkness, reminding us all that in the quiet spaces between empires, true peace is found. And so, as the stars wheel overhead and the night deepens, our tale draws to a close. May it linger in your dreams, gentle and warm, like a blanket on a cool evening. Now let's dive into a captivating tale inspired by ancient biblical roots, but reimagined with depth, emotion, and the voices of women long silenced in history. This is the story of the Red Tent, a world where family bonds, love, betrayal, and resilience weave together in the harsh landscapes of the ancient Near East. I'll narrate it fluently, letting the story flow like a river through time, drawing you into the lives of strong women and the men who shaped their destinies. So sit back, relax, and let me transport you to a time of tents, tribes, and timeless human struggles. In the land of Haran, 4 sisters, Leah, Rachel, Zilpah, and Bilhah, grew up under their father, Laban, a cunning shepherd. Leah, the eldest, had soft, deep eyes, some called weak, her hands skilled in weaving and tending flocks. Rachel, younger, was breathtaking, with midnight hair and starry eyes that turned heads. Zilpah, mystical, spoke to old gods in dreams, while Bilhah, gentle, healed with her touch. Their lives shifted when Jacob, a handsome wanderer, fleeing his brother Esau's wrath after stealing his birthright, arrived at Laban's camp. At the well, Jacob saw Rachel watering sheep and fell instantly in love, his heart hers. He vowed to work 7 years for her hand, but Laban tricked him, giving Leah under the cover of darkness on the wedding night. Furious but undeterred, Jacob worked another 7 years for Rachel, marrying her too, though his heart leaned toward her, leaving Leah in the shadow of his resentment. Leah bore sons: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, her womb fruitful, her pride swelling with each birth. Rachel, barren, ached with envy, her beauty no match for the god's silence. Desperate, she gave Bilhah to Jacob, who bore Dan and Naphtali. Leah countered with Zilpah, who birthed Gad and Asher. Amid rivalry, the sisters found solace in the red tent, a sacred space pitched during their moon times. There, surrounded by crimson walls, they shared laughter, tears, and secrets, brewing herbal teas, honoring Inanna and Mamu, their bond stronger than the men's world of herding and deals. Rachel finally bore Joseph, a radiant boy, and Jacob doted on him, crafting a coat of many colors that sparked his brother's jealousy. Her joy was brief. She died birthing Benjamin on the road to Ephrath, her last whisper his name. Jacob buried her by the wayside, marking her grave with stones. Into this world came Dinah, Leah's only daughter, born quietly but strong. From childhood, she loved the red tent, absorbing Rachel's tales of distant lands, Zilpah's moon chants, Bilhah's healing arts, and Leah's lessons of endurance. She roamed with her brothers, slinging stones and tending sheep, but her heart stayed with the women's mysteries. The family wandered, following Jacob, now Israel after wrestling an angel, to Canaan, settling near Shechem's city. Dinah, curious, ventured into its bustling streets, alive with merchants selling spices, silks, and jewels. Prince Shechem, son of King Hamor, saw her, her strong features softened by youth, hair wild, and was smitten. He took her to his palace, and though his act was hasty, their connection grew tender. They spoke of dreams, his for a united people, hers of her family's journeys. Love bloomed, and Shechem sought to marry her, offering any bride price. Hamor proposed alliance to Jacob, Dinah for Shechem. Their tribes joined. Jacob listened, but Simeon and Levi, burning with rage, saw only dishonor. They agreed, demanding every city male be circumcised. On the third day, as the men lay weak, Simeon and Levi struck, slaughtering Shechem, Hamor, and all males, their brothers, looting the city. Dinah, finding her beloved dead, wailed in grief, cursing her brother's brutality. Jacob rebuked them, fearing reprisals, and they fled, Dinah's heart broken. In the red tent, Leah held her daughter through tears. Zilpah burned incense, Bilhah soothed with salves. Slowly, Dinah healed, vowing to remember Shechem. Years passed. Joseph's dreams led to his sail into Egypt, but Dinah turned to the women's world, becoming a midwife under Egyptian slaves' guidance. Her hands delivered life, her spirit finding purpose in the tent's glow. When famine drove the family to Egypt, Joseph, now Pharaoh's vizier, reunited them. They thrived in Goshen, Dinah watching her brothers age, their tempers softened. Simeon and Levi carrying silent guilt. In Egypt, Dinah met Benia, a kind-eyed carpenter, crafting chariots but dreaming of a simple life. Their love grew gently, his respect for her past a balm. They wed under stars, Leah's blessing warm, and Dinah bore a son, naming him for echoes of Shechem. As Leah aged, her sight fading, Dinah sat by her in the red tent, sharing stories. "You taught me strength," Dinah whispered. "You taught me joy," Leah replied, passing with a smile, mourned by the women's songs. Dinah lived long, her hair silver, teaching granddaughters the tent's lore, songs of Inanna, rituals of blood and birth. "Our stories bind the world," she'd say. In her final days by the Nile, she dreamed of Shechem, running hand in hand. She passed peacefully, her son near, buried with honors, her spirit joining the eternal red tent. Life in the camp was vivid. Women ground grain at dawn, pestles rhythmic, children chased butterflies, elders' proverbs echoing. Jacob's god, El, demanded altars of unhewn stone, but in the tent, goddesses reigned. Leah's loom wove indigo and saffron cloths. Rachel's jasmine lingered in memory. Zilpah's idols received grain offerings. Bilhah's herbs healed. Dinah, as a girl, watched Reuben protect her. Simeon and Levi sling stones, Judah ponder stars. Shechem's city dazzled, sesame bread baking, temples smoky with incense. Shechem's palace had cool marble floors, fountains tinkling, wine sweet with honey. Their love was whispered dreams under silk drapes. The attack came under moonlight, swords flashing, streets bloodied. Dinah cradled Shechem's body, her cries piercing the chaos. In Egypt, fields waved golden, pyramids loomed. Dinah learned lotus for calm, papyrus for wounds. Benia's workshop smelled of cedar, his carved cradles inlaid with ivory. Their home bloomed with figs, nights spent stargazing. Bar Shalem, their son, built toy chariots, learned his mother's stories. Dinah trained apprentices, ensuring the tent's wisdom lived on. In her last vision, the red tent stretched vast, housing Eve, Sarah, her mothers, and daughters unborn, singing, "We are the circle." The red tent endures, a testament to women's resilience, their voices echoing in hearts that listen. In the land of Haran, 4 sisters, Leah, Rachel, Zilpah, and Bilhah, grew up under their father Laban, a cunning shepherd. Leah, the eldest, had soft, deep eyes, some called weak, her hands skilled in weaving and tending flocks. Rachel, younger, was breathtaking, with midnight hair and starry eyes that turned heads. Zilpah, mystical, spoke to old gods in dreams, while Bilhah, gentle, healed with her touch. Their lives shifted when Jacob, a handsome wanderer, fleeing his brother Esau's wrath after stealing his birthright, arrived at Laban's camp. At the well, Jacob saw Rachel watering sheep and fell instantly in love, his heart hers. He vowed to work 7 years for her hand, but Laban tricked him, giving Leah under the cover of darkness on the wedding night. Furious but undeterred, Jacob worked another 7 years for Rachel, marrying her too, though his heart leaned toward her, leaving Leah in the shadow of his resentment. Leah bore sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, her womb fruitful, her pride swelling with each birth. Rachel, barren, ached with envy, her beauty no match for the gods' silence. Desperate, she gave Bilhah to Jacob, who bore Dan and Naphtali. Leah countered with Zilpah, who birthed Gad and Asher. Amid rivalry, the sisters found solace in the red tent, a sacred space pitched during their moon times. There, surrounded by crimson walls, they shared laughter, tears, and secrets, brewing herbal teas, honoring Inanna and Mamu, their bond stronger than the men's world of herding and deals. Rachel finally bore Joseph, a radiant boy, and Jacob doted on him, crafting a coat of many colors that sparked his brother's jealousy. Her joy was brief. She died birthing Benjamin on the road to Ephrath. Her last whisper, his name. Jacob buried her by the wayside, marking her grave with stones. Into this world came Dinah, Leah's only daughter, born quietly but strong. From childhood, she loved the red tent, absorbing Rachel's tales of distant lands, Zilpah's moon chants, Bilhah's healing arts, and Leah's lessons of endurance. She roamed with her brothers, slinging stones and tending sheep, but her heart stayed with the women's mysteries. The family wandered, following Jacob, now Israel, after wrestling an angel, to Canaan, settling near Shechem city. Dinah, curious, ventured into its bustling streets, alive with merchants selling spices, silks, and jewels. Prince Shechem, son of King Hamor, saw her, her strong features softened by youth, hair wild, and was smitten. He took her to his palace, and though his act was hasty, their connection grew tender. They spoke of dreams, his for a united people, hers of her family's journeys. Love bloomed, and Shechem sought to marry her, offering any bride price. Hamor proposed alliance to Jacob, Dinah for Shechem. Their tribes joined. Jacob listened, but Simeon and Levi, burning with rage, saw only dishonor. They agreed, demanding every city male be circumcised. On the 3rd day, as the men lay weak, Simeon and Levi struck, slaughtering Shechem, Hamor, and all males, their brothers looting the city. Dinah, finding her beloved dead, wailed in grief, cursing her brother's brutality. Jacob rebuked them, fearing reprisals, and they fled, Dinah's heart broken. In the red tent, Leah held her daughter through tears. Zilpah burned incense. Bilhah soothed with salves. Slowly, Dinah healed, vowing to remember Shechem. Years passed. Joseph's dreams led to his sail into Egypt, but Dinah turned to the women's world, becoming a midwife under Egyptian slaves' guidance. Her hands delivered life, her spirit finding purpose in the tent's glow. When famine drove the family to Egypt, Joseph, now Pharaoh's vizier, reunited them. They thrived in Goshen, Dinah watching her brothers age. Their tempers softened, Simeon and Levi carrying silent guilt. In Egypt, Dinah met Benia, a kind-eyed carpenter, crafting chariots but dreaming of a simple life. Their love grew gently, his respect for her passed a balm. They wed under stars, Leah's blessing warm, and Dinah bore a son, naming him for echoes of Shechem. As Leah aged, her sight fading, Dinah sat by her in the red tent, sharing stories. "You taught me strength," Dinah whispered. "You taught me joy," Leah replied, passing with a smile, mourned by the women's songs. Dinah lived long, her hair silver, teaching granddaughters the tent's lore, songs of Inanna, rituals of blood and birth. "Our stories bind the world," she'd say. In her final days by the Nile, she dreamed of Shechem. Running hand in hand, she passed peacefully, her son near, buried with honors, her spirit joining the eternal red tent. Life in the camp was vivid. Women ground grain at dawn, pestles rhythmic, children chased butterflies, elders' proverbs echoing. Jacob's god, El, demanded altars of unhewn stone, but in the tent, goddesses reigned. Leah's loom wove indigo and saffron cloths. Rachel's jasmine lingered in memory. Zilpah's idols received grain offerings. Bilhah's herbs healed. Dinah, as a girl, watched Reuben protect her. Simeon and Levi sling stones. Judah ponder stars. Shechem's city dazzled. Sesame bread baking. Temples smoky with incense. Shechem's palace had cool marble floors. Fountains tinkling. Wine sweet with honey. Their love was whispered dreams under silk drapes. The attack came under moonlight, swords flashing, streets bloodied. Dinah cradled Shechem's body, her cries piercing the chaos. In Egypt, fields waved golden, pyramids loomed. Dinah learned lotus for calm, papyrus for wounds. Benia's workshop smelled of cedar, his carved cradles inlaid with ivory. Their home bloomed with figs, nights spent stargazing. Bar Shalem, their son, built toy chariots, learned his mother's stories. Dinah trained apprentices, ensuring the tent's wisdom lived on. In her last vision, the red tent stretched vast, housing Eve, Sarah, her mothers, and daughters unborn, singing, We are the circle. The red tent endures, a testament to women's resilience, their voices echoing in hearts that listen. Now, let's dive into a gentle narration of The Other Boleyn Girl, a tale woven from the threads of history and heartache in the grand courts of Tudor England. Settle into your cozy spot, let the world fade away, and allow the soft rhythm of this story to carry you back to a time of kings and queens, of love and ambition, where two sisters danced on the edge of fate. This is the story of Mary Boleyn, the other sister, whose quiet light shone amid the shadows of power. Close your eyes if you wish, and let the words flow like a calm river, easy and soothing as we begin. In the spring of 1521, the air in England was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the whispers of courtly secrets. Mary Boleyn, a young woman of just 14, stood in the shadow of the scaffold at the Tower of London. She watched with wide eyes as the Duke of Buckinghamshire met his end, his head severed for daring to jest about King Henry VIII's lack of a male heir. The crowd murmured, and Mary felt a chill run through her, even as the sun warmed the stones. She was married to William Carey, a kind but unremarkable gentleman of the court, and she served as a lady-in-waiting to Queen Catherine of Aragon, a woman of grace and quiet strength whose Spanish roots brought a touch of exotic warmth to the English palace. Mary's family, the Boleyns, were ambitious souls. Her father, Thomas Boleyn, and her uncle, the Duke of Norfolk, dreamed of rising higher in the king's favor. They saw opportunity in Mary's gentle beauty, her golden hair, her soft blue eyes, her innocent smile that could melt the sternest heart. Soon, her sister Anne returned from the French court, where she had learned the arts of elegance and wit. Anne was darker, sharper, with a fire in her eyes that contrasted Mary's softness. Their brother George, handsome and charming, completed the trio, always ready with a laugh or a secret plan. The king, Henry VIII, was a golden prince in his prime, tall, broad-shouldered, with a laugh that echoed through the halls like thunder. But his marriage to Queen Catherine grew strained. She had borne him a daughter, Mary, but no son to secure the throne. The Boleyns whispered among themselves, plotting to place Mary in the king's path. At a grand masque, where masks hid faces and desires ran free, Henry noticed Mary. His eyes lingered on her as she danced, light as a feather. Flattered and frightened, Mary found herself drawn into his world. Her family pressured her, gently at first, then firmly. "Become his mistress," they said, "for the good of us all." Mary's heart fluttered like a bird in a cage. She loved her husband William, but the king's attention was a whirlwind. He sent her gifts, silk ribbons, jeweled pins, and soon she was separated from William, sent to the family estate at Hever Castle in Kent. There, amid the rolling green hills and quiet orchards, Mary breathed easier. The countryside was a balm to her soul, with birds singing in the mornings and the rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. But court called her back, and she returned, her cheeks flushed with excitement. The king pursued her with poems and rides in the forest, where deer bounded away and the air smelled of earth and pine. Their affair began in secret glances and stolen moments. Mary fell in love with Henry, dazzled by his power and his tenderness toward her. He called her his sweet Mary, his rose without thorns. But guilt gnawed at her. She served Queen Catherine, who treated her with kindness, sharing stories of her own youth in Spain, of sun-drenched castles and olive groves. As Mary's belly swelled with child, the Queen's eyes grew sad, knowing the truth. The court buzzed with rumors, but the Boleyns rejoiced. Henry rewarded them with lands, titles, and gold. Mary's Uncle Howard smiled coldly, his mind always on the next step up the ladder of power. Meanwhile, Anne had her own dreams. She fell deeply in love with Henry Percy, a young nobleman with lands as vast as the sea. They married in secret, whispering vows in a hidden chapel, their hearts pounding with forbidden joy. But Cardinal Wolsey, the king's powerful advisor, discovered their union. He annulled it swiftly, claiming it unfit, and sent Anne away to Hever in disgrace. Anne's tears soaked her pillow at night. She vowed revenge on Wolsey, her spirit unbroken, her ambition kindled like a flame. Mary gave birth to a daughter, Catherine, in 1524. The king visited, his face lighting up briefly, but disappointment lingered. He craved a son. Still, their love continued, soft and passionate. Mary bore another child, a boy named Henry, and for a moment, joy filled her world. She cradled him in her arms, feeling the weight of his tiny body, the warmth of his breath. But the king's eye wandered, and Queen Catherine's failure to produce an heir gnawed at him like a persistent ache. As Mary's time as mistress waned, Anne stepped forward. She had returned to court, more alluring than ever, her French gowns hugging her slender form, her dark eyes sparkling with mischief. She teased the king, refusing his advances, promising nothing until he set aside his queen. Mary watched in quiet sorrow as Henry shifted his affections. Anne was ruthless, determined to be queen, not just a fleeting love. The sisters, once close, now rivals, exchanged sharp words in their shared chambers. George mediated, his own marriage to Jane Parker, a loveless bond that left him yearning for something more. Whispers spoke of his fondness for Sir Francis Weston, a secret buried deep. The king grew desperate. He sought an annulment from the Pope, claiming his marriage to Catherine was invalid because she had been his brother's widow. But the Pope, Under pressure from Catherine's nephew, Emperor Charles of Spain refused. Henry raged like a storm, his court trembling. Wolsey fell from grace, stripped of power, and Anne danced in delight at his downfall. The Boleyns pushed harder. Perhaps Mary could be queen, with her son as heir. But Mary refused, her heart weary of the court's poison. She longed for Heather's peace, for simple days with her children, picking apples and running through meadows. William Carey, her husband, fell ill with the sweating sickness, a plague that swept through like a shadow. Mary nursed him, holding his hand as fever claimed him. Widowed now, she felt adrift, but free in a way. The family debated, who next for the king? Anne seized the moment, her ambition a blazing fire. She adopted Mary's son Henry, claiming him as her own, to strengthen her position, tearing at Mary's heart like a dagger. Mary pleaded, tears streaming down her face, but Anne was unmoved, her eyes cold as winter stone. Queen Catherine was banished to a distant castle, her rooms echoing with loneliness. Mary visited her in secret, offering comfort, sharing cups of warm, spiced wine by a flickering fire. The Queen spoke of faith and endurance, her voice steady despite her breaking heart. Public opinion turned against Anne, calling her the king's whore, throwing stones at her carriage. But Henry pressed on, breaking with Rome, declaring himself head of the Church of England. He married Anne in a secret ceremony, her belly already rounding with child. Anne's coronation was a spectacle of gold and velvet, but the crowds stood silent, their disapproval a heavy blanket over the festivities. She gave birth to a girl, Elizabeth, with fiery red hair like her father's. Joy turned to fear. No son meant uncertainty. Anne miscarried again and again, each loss a deeper wound. Henry grew distant, his eye caught by Jane Seymour, a quiet maid with pale beauty and demure ways. Amid this turmoil, Mary found solace in William Stafford, a humble landowner from Essex. He was kind, with rough hands from tilling the soil, and a smile that warmed her like sunlight. They met in hidden gardens, sharing kisses under blooming roses. Mary married him in secret, her heart singing with simple happiness. When she revealed her pregnancy, Anne exploded in jealousy, banishing her sister from court. Mary retreated to their farm, where days passed in gentle rhythm, milking cows at dawn, baking bread that filled the air with comforting scents, watching sunsets paint the sky in soft pinks and golds. She gave birth to a daughter, Anne, cradling her in the quiet night, stars twinkling outside the window. But court called once more. George summoned Mary back. Anne was pregnant again, but paranoia gripped her. Henry flirted openly with Jane Seymour, and Anne's temper flared like wildfire. In a fit of rage, she miscarried a boy. The child deformed, whispers of witchcraft and sin spreading like mist. The king turned cold, his love curdling into suspicion. Arrests followed swiftly. George, Sir Francis Weston, other courtiers accused of adultery with Anne. Worse, rumors of incest between Anne and George, a vile lie to seal their fate. Mary rushed to the tower, where Anne paced her cell, her once proud spirit frayed. They hugged, tears mingling, old rivalries forgotten in the face of doom. Mary begged the family to intervene, but Uncle Howard abandoned them, his ambition shifting to safer grounds. Trials came, rigged and swift. George faced the axe first, his head rolling on the scaffold as Mary watched, her world shattering. Anne followed, dressed in grey damask, her neck bared to the sword. She spoke calmly, forgiving all, and in a flash, it was over. The cannon boomed, signaling the end. Mary fled London, with William and her children seeking the countryside's embrace. They settled at Rochford Hall, where life flowed simply, children laughing in the fields, harvests gathered under golden suns, evenings by the fire with stories and songs. Catherine grew into a bright girl, Henry a strong boy with the king's features, but a farmer's heart. Little Anne toddled about, her giggles a balm. Years passed like gentle waves. Mary heard whispers of Henry's new marriages. Jane Seymour bore him a son, Edward, but died soon after. Then Anne of Cleves, a brief union annulled. Catherine Howard, a cousin, beheaded for treason. Finally, Catherine Parr, a steady hand in turbulent times. Henry grew old, his leg ulcerated, his temper foul. But Mary stayed away, content in her quiet life. Elizabeth, Anne's daughter, rose one day to the throne, a queen of fire and intellect. Mary watched from afar, pride swelling for her sister's legacy. And young Henry, now a man, found his place in the world, unaware of his royal blood until whispers reached him. In the end, Mary Boleyn lived as she wished, free from court's glittering chains, wrapped in love's warm cloak. The other Boleyn girl, whose story faded into history's pages, but whose heart beat true. And so, as the sun sets on this tale, remember the sisters, the king, and the dreams that danced and died in Tudor England. Sleep well, dear listeners, with visions of castles and roses in your dreams. Now, let the world slip away like leaves in a gentle stream as we drift into the timeless tale of Gone with the Wind. Picture the warm Georgia sun kissing the cotton fields, the soft breeze whispering secrets through tall trees, and the quiet rhythm of life in the Old South. This is the story of Scarlett O'Hara, a young woman with a spirit as wild as the wind. navigating love, loss, and the tides of time. Close your eyes if you wish, breathe deeply, and let the words carry you like a lullaby on a starry night. In the spring of 1861, on a sprawling plantation called Tara, nestled in Georgia's rolling hills, lived Scarlett O'Hara, a girl of 16 with emerald green eyes and dark hair cascading like midnight. Tara was a dream. Its grand white house, with tall columns gleaming against red earth, cotton fields swaying like waves on a calm sea. The air carried the sweet scent of magnolias, petals unfurling in the warm breeze. Scarlett's father, Gerald, a sturdy Irishman, loved the land he'd won in a card game, his laugh booming as he rode across the fields, guiding workers with a gentle hand. Her mother, Ellen, was Southern Grace, moving through the house like a soft shadow, tending to the sick, and her 3 daughters with quiet strength. Scarlett's sisters, Sue Ellen and Corinne, paled beside her fire. Sue Ellen, fretful and envious, whined when things didn't go her way, while Corinne, dreamy and devout, lost herself in books and prayers. Scarlett was Tara's star, charming all with a smile or flutter of lashes, always getting what she wanted. One lazy afternoon, Scarlett sat on the veranda, fanning herself against the heat, as the Tarleton twins, Brent and Stuart, rode up, their red hair blazing like fire. They dismounted, boots stirring soft dust, and joined her, voices low with gossip. "Scarlett, darlin'," Brent said, grinning, "tomorrow at 12 Oaks Barbecue, Ashley Wilkes is announcing his engagement to Melanie Hamilton." Scarlett's heart twisted, but she laughed lightly, hiding her pain. Ashley, the golden-haired son of 12 Oaks, was her secret love, his thoughtful eyes and love for poetry setting him apart. Melanie, his frail cousin from Atlanta, was sweet but plain, no match for Scarlett's vibrance. Her mind swirled, plotting to sway him at the barbecue as the sun dipped, painting the sky in pinks and golds. Scarlett brushed her hair by candlelight, Mammy bustling in to scold, "Chile, behave tomorrow." Scarlett smiled, but her thoughts danced with Ashley. She slipped into bed, sheets cool, dreaming of dancing under stars. Morning dawned bright, the air humming with bird song. Tara's family rode to 12 Oaks, Scarlett in a green gown matching her eyes, jasmine in her hair. The Wilkes home was elegant, with manicured lawns and a winding staircase. Guests arrived, ladies in hoop skirts like blooming flowers, men in fine coats, the air thick with barbecue smoke and lemonade's tang. Scarlett flirted, her laughter floating, but her eyes sought Ashley. In the library, surrounded by books' musty scent, she whispered, "Ashley, is it true about Melanie?" He nodded, eyes sad. "She's kind, Scarlett. What I need." Her heart burned, and she confessed, "I love you." He hesitated, drawn to her fire, but pulled away. "It can't be." A stranger, Rhett Butler, leaned in the doorway, his dark eyes amused. A Charleston rogue, he ran blockades for profit, his moustache curling like a secret. Scarlett stormed out, his low chuckle trailing her. The barbecue drifted on, guests napping in shade, talk turning to war. Men boasted of quick victory, but news came softly. Fort Sumter had fallen. War began, like thunder, rolling closer. Months blurred. Scarlett married Charles Hamilton, Melanie's shy brother, in a fit of pique, their wedding hasty amid flowers' heavy scent. He marched off in grey, but died of fever, leaving Scarlett a widow with a baby coming. Wade was born on a rainy night, his cries soft as whispers. She wore black, chafing at morning, and moved to Atlanta with Melanie and Aunt Pittypat, whose house was cozy amid bustling streets. Atlanta hummed with war, soldiers marching, shops selling ribbons. Scarlett nursed in hospitals, bandaging wounds, the air heavy with medicine's bite. Melanie sewed for soldiers, her needle steady by lamplight. Rhett appeared, his carriage sleek, bringing silks and perfumes from blockade runs. He teased Scarlett, "You're no mourner," his eyes sparking. They talked by firelight, his stories of sea adventures weaving dreams, but her heart clung to Ashley's poetic letters. War grew heavy, battles like Gettysburg echoing loss. Food dwindled, dresses patched. Melanie carried a child, her steps slow. The siege of Atlanta came, cannons booming, city trembling. Scarlett stayed with Melanie, delivering little Beau amid chaos, his cry lost in shell fire. Flames devoured Atlanta, smoke choking the air. Rhett drove them out in a wagon, his face set against the fire's glow. On a dark road, he kissed Scarlett fiercely, then left for the army. His laughter fading, Scarlett drove through rain, the wagon creaking, Melanie weak, babies crying. Tara appeared, scarred but standing, shutters loose. Ellen was gone, taken by typhoid. Gerald broken, wandering halls, muttering of the past. Sisters ill, fields barren. Scarlett vowed to save Tara, her voice firm as earth. She worked the fields, hands blistered, picking cotton by moonlight. Hunger gnawed, but she schemed, bartering with neighbors. A Yankee deserter came, threatening. Scarlett shot him, burying him under stars. Taxes loomed, Tara at risk. She went to Atlanta, dressed in curtains sewn green, seeking Rhett. In jail, he refused her plea, seeing her desperation. She married Frank Kennedy, Sue Ellen's beau, for his store's money. vows spoken softly, Lanta rebuilt, streets bustling anew. Scarlet ran a sawmill, woods scent fresh, deals sharp. She bore Ella, a shy girl. Ashley returned, working at her mill, his eyes haunted. Stolen moments with him stirred whispers, but Melanie stood loyal, her health fading. Rhett watched, his love growing despite Scarlett's flaws. He proposed, voice smooth, "We're alike, scoundrels at heart." Their wedding was grand, a whirl of luxury, their home opulent on Peachtree Street. Bonnie came, blue-eyed and bold, capturing Rhett's heart. Scarlett pined for Ashley, causing rifts. At a party, rumors of her embrace with Ashley spread, Rhett's anger flaring. Tragedy struck. Bonnie fell from her pony, her laughter silenced. Rhett shattered, locking himself with grief. Melanie grew ill, her last words urging Scarlett to care for Ashley and Rhett. "He loves you so," Scarlett saw clearly, like dawn through mist. Ashley was a dream, Rhett her match. She ran to him. "I love you," but he turned, weary. "I don't give a damn," he said, walking into fog. Alone, Scarlett felt hope stir. Tomorrow was another day. Tara calling with its red earth, eternal and forgiving. Let's drift back to Tara's early days. Mornings, waking with roosters' soft calls, mist rising from fields like breath. Scarlet rose, stretching in sunlight, Mammy lacing her dress tight, fabric hugging like a warm embrace. Breakfast waited, ham sizzling, biscuits steaming, honey dripping slow. Gerald's stories of Ireland warmed the table, Ellen pouring tea with steady hands. The Tarleton boys brought laughter, horses stamping, sharing tales of hunts. "You're the prettiest," they'd say, eyes shining. Scarlett teased back, but her heart wandered to Ashley, imagining walks under oaks. At 12 Oaks Barbecue, fiddles played, skirts swirled, peaches tasted sweet. Men smoked cigars, debating cotton and Yankees, war talk growing. Her library confession to Ashley, books sent heavy, his gentle refusal stung. Rhett's sly grin watched. War's start brought parades, flags waving, kisses goodbye. Charles' death came quick, Wade's birth softer, Scarlett holding him close. In Atlanta, streets clattered, hospital days long, soldiers' thanks weak. Rhett's gifts, silk smooth, perfumes floral, brightened grim times. Ashley's leave, Melanie glowing, stirred Scarlett's hidden longing. The siege's terror, bombs falling, Melanie's labor, Scarlett's hands guiding Beau's birth. Escape through flames, wagon bumping, stars watching, Tara's scarred welcome, Ellen's grave fresh, Gerald lost, Scarlett's field work, earth cool under nails, cotton picked slow. The Yankees' end, shot echoing, secret buried, Frank's courtship, lanterns flickering, wedding simple, mill humming, wood stacking, Ella's quiet cries, Frank's death in dark, Scarlett's guilt buried, Rhett's proposal, brandy firelit, we'll conquer the world, travels on trains, landscapes passing, Bonnie's giggles pure. Misunderstandings grew, Ashley's pull lingering, Bonnie's fall, silence heavy, Rhett's grief, bottle clinking, Melanie's deathbed, candles flickering. Be kind. Scarlett's chase through fog, Rhett gone. Tara's call, hope rising like dawn, linger on details, Jasmine's scent, smoke's bite, earth's cool touch, servants' lives, Mammy's fierce love, Prissy's frets, Pork's loyalty, barbecues with meats roasting, dancers twirling, hospitals' moans, blockade tales of waves rocking, post-war Atlanta, buildings rising, hope budding, Mill's pine scent, deals firm, Bonnie's bedtime stories, Rhett's voice soothing. Seasons turned, spring blooms, summer heat, fall leaves, winter fires, Scarlett grew, from girl to woman strong. Rhett's depth, Melanie's light, Ashley's dreams fading. The South changed, old ways drifting, new ones rising, dialogues echoed. Scarlett, darlin', Brent grinned. I love you, Scarlett to Ashley. You're no mourner, Rhett teased. As God is my witness, Scarlett vowed. I don't give a damn, Rhett's farewell. Be kind, Melanie's last whisper. The story flows like a river to sea, fields green again, life renewing, love lost, strength found, wind gone, but always returning, Tara's paths, Scarlett walking, feet sinking in dirt, Gerald's rides in memory, Ellen's lessons, voice guiding, twins' pranks, laughter echoing, 12 Oaks' grandeur, Ashley's poems, Rhett's mocks, Melanie's kindness, Wade's toys, Beau's smiles, Ella's shyness, Bonnie's daring, war's end, soldiers weary, stories low, rebuilding, nails steady, business thriving, coins clinking, parties toasting, missteps forgiven, farewell in mist, homeward bound, hope eternal, days following soft, Scarlet by window, rain patting, planning tomorrow, fields to plow, house to mend, children to raise, love to find, land enduring, roots deep, wind carrying dreams. Our story ends, but your dreams are just beginning. May they be gentle, kind, and full of wonder. Sleep well, dear friend, and we'll share another tale very soon.